What is up, everyone? Scott Brandt coming to you on this beautiful Thursday evening, Christmas Eve. Hopefully, everyone had a great day. Probably had some people out there that may have been doing some last minute Christmas shopping for all we know. I know I had a couple of things to take care of and whatnot, but man, it was one of those things that there's always something that you can find in the day that it's a great day. It can make it a great day and whatnot. And so it's the power of gratitude. And gratitude can do a lot for you. Gratitude can be a superpower for you. And it's just a skill, it's a muscle actually, really, when you think about it, because you've got to sharpen and you got to flex and you got to work on your gratitude muscle because we're so driven on the fact that negativity ends up like sucking in and then that's all you focus on. Ultimately, you've got to find those things that you can be grateful for. And maybe it's to start off very, very small, whatever it is. And so as you're going through, you just never know. And it was interesting. So for anybody that is a creator that's watching this, reach out. I actually came across I don't know if you call it a grant or whatnot, but it was specifically focused on content creators. And there's a company that's working to give between $500 and $5,000 to content creators because that's the shift of what's taking place. They were saying that with the content that's created by content creators, that's watched more than TV. And so it's one of those things that, yeah, if you're a content creator and you're looking, reach out. I'll give you the link so you can go on there and apply and maybe you'll win something. I don't know. But it's always no if you don't go do it. You got to go do it and whatnot. And picture may be a little bit different because using the laptop today instead of my webcam, I bought that. It's probably, I need to go find another one. Patrick's like, it's the settings. I've messed with the settings and it's all jacked up sometimes. And then last night when I did the Dreamer Cipher, that was off my phone. I was like, shit, like technology sometimes it wants to throw wrenches into stuff and make it difficult, and it could potentially make you mad. And so it's a test. It's like, are you going to continue showing up and going through the imperfect action? And well, that's one of the things that I've talked about. I don't recall exactly when I talked about it, but it was the one word aspect. And really refining for myself is the one word for me is imperfect action. And that's going into next year. And so talking about gratitude, because Jasper, who is the sponsor for Two Native Sons, she was talking, but got to give a shout out to Jasper for what she's doing. Man, if you have sponsors coming on, and I would put Jasper up against any of your sponsors in regards to what she does compared to your sponsors. I will go swinging down with that because as much as Jasper does, I don't think anybody else has anybody in their corner as a sponsor that's doing what she does. And so I'm just grateful. That relationship's huge and whatnot, but it's a beautiful thing to be able to be partnered up. And with the gratitude piece, I was thinking of something. Now I'm blanking. I don't know. We'll see if it comes back. But as you can see right there, that little stack of T-shirts. I shared that last night in the Dreamer Cipher, but it's hashtag shutdowns ruin towns. Right now, I've got, for Two Native Sons, we've got 27 on hand. And if you'd like to purchase one, reach out, send us a message. We'll let you know, and we'll get it out to you. But it's a powerful message that has to be shared, and we got to unite. We got to do something. And so what are we going to do? It takes the community. We've got to unite. We got to rise up and come together and whatnot. So gratitude, it'll come to me. But Patrick and I had shared this, and then I was just thinking in regards to like power of music and whatnot. And so with Two Native Sons, we did have a friend of ours that put together, I guess you call it intro music. We could do it as an outro music. We could do it whenever and whatnot. But the power of music and whatnot, and what was put together here, oh man, I was like, this is great. And so I'll go and listen to it, even though it's about for Two Native Sons, but it's just powerful. So I'm gonna play it here. I did think I got it where the volume's not all jacked up, but we'll see. There we go.
Let's go talk about it. Something you know, let's go talk about it. You go, let's go talk about it. Or your soul, let's go talk about it. Talk about it, talk about it. If it's growth, let's go talk about it. Something you know, let's go talk about it. Talk about it. You go, let's go talk about it. Talk about it. Or your soul, let's go talk about it. Talk about it. Let's go.
There we go. So yeah, that's it just gets me excited and whatnot. Just what Two Native Sons are doing. Just power. I know Sunday, I think Patrick and I will be getting together to record the last chapter of the book. So probably maybe into January, mid-January, to have it ready for download and whatnot. Excited for it, but yeah, let's fucking go, and good time and whatnot. But now it's coming back to me. So the aspect of gratitude is very powerful, and I was talking to a good friend of mine, and it's been a while since we've talked. He was doing some stuff to reconnect with himself. Just one of those things that sometimes life gets very tough, and you just got to go recharge and go do what you need to. But we were talking, and so just to hear where he's at now compared to where he was when things were going on is a beautiful thing. And so I talk about this all the time, that each of us have a message that somebody else needs to hear. And so are you going to be selfish and be a jerk and be scared to share your message? Or are you going to go out there and share it regardless of what you're judging yourself on? Because that's the biggest thing when it comes to judgment. The biggest piece of judgment is yourself. You're judging yourself. And so we were talking, and I was like, man, you know what? With that situation right there, what you went through, where you're at, how you've overcome it, is something that somebody else needs to hear. And he's like, man, yeah, you're right. Because we've talked about this before, because he has a very interesting backstory. It's a beautiful thing just to hear that backstory. And any time that you can hear somebody's backstory and just see and hear what they went through and where they've gotten to where they're at now, it's a beautiful thing. Because like I said, education comes through listening and learning from the experience of somebody else. But he was talking, he's like, yeah, man, I think right now the biggest thing is a lot of people feel as if they're the only ones that's going through the shit, whatever it is. And I was like, yeah, what you need to do is start sharing your message, because that gives that aspect for somebody to look at and be like, man, somebody else went through something similar. Look at where they're at. They've been able to overcome. They are at a level that I never thought I'd be able to get to. And so that's the power of a story. That's the power of your message. And so instead of being selfish and being concerned about what other people are thinking, get out of your own way and go out and share it. I know it's scary though. And so that goes with the idea of the struggle is a gift. Your struggle is a gift. A gift, when you think about it, a gift is meant to be shared. And so that struggle that you had is meant to be shared, because that can be that gift that somebody else receives that they need to receive. And they need that information. They need to hear what took place to really have that shift take place. And so you just got to get out of your own way. But a lot of times we're like, well, what's somebody going to think? What's somebody going to say? I don't care. Go out there. if you need somebody to sit down and talk to, let's sit down and talk. Because that's the other issue, because a lot of people just need that individual to sit down and talk with. They need somebody to hold space for them and give them space. But a lot of times we don't do that. A lot of times we don't sit and just let somebody talk. And the power of talking is a beautiful thing. If you would just shut up and sit there and listen, maybe they don't even need to talk. Maybe they just need somebody to be there and give them that space. But we're so prone as a society not to do that. Like, for whatever reason, we've got to get out of our own way. But it's something that you have to work on, because holding space for somebody else does take a lot of strength. And it is something that you've got to work. It's a skill that you got to work on, because we as individuals, we don't even hold space for ourselves. And so if you can't hold space for yourself, how are you going to hold space for somebody else? And so that goes into what Patrick talks about, the grace and greatness, something else that we have ideas with and whatnot. But ultimately, with Two Native Sons, one of the things that we are working on and working with individuals is helping them to give themselves grace and see it's okay to give themselves grace, but also understand that inside that grace that you're given and inside of you is greatness. And we're at a point where a lot of people don't understand the potential that they have in them. They don't understand the greatness that's inside of them, because that's been buried by a bunch of shit that they are holding on to. They are not overcoming. They're having these negative stories that they keep telling themselves, and they keep stacking these negative thoughts that just build upon it. And that's where that shit gets piled. So that grace and greatness that you have inside of you, it's getting stuck underneath all the garbage. And so you've got to go out there and you've got to do the work. And that is the internal piece that I talk about, the mindset piece. You've got to go do that work. It's not easy because it's a muscle. And so think about it. If you haven't ran in a whole year and then you're like, I'm going to go run a marathon, best of luck to you to go do that, because your body is not ready to take on that marathon since you haven't done the whole year of no running, no training, nothing like that. So that's why a lot of people will go and have the issue where they're like, I'm going to go and get into the gym and work out. And then they end up blowing out a shoulder or something like that because they haven't done it. So they like go full bore. And when you're looking at working on your mindset, it's the matter of the fact that it's taking that first step, that small step. It's I saw a quote. It was talking about that you don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to see that step in front of you. And so this is the same thing when it comes to that internal work. You're probably hearing it. You're like, man, that just sounds like so much because of what I've done. So that's where it goes into play. But we've got to start and work to allow you to work on that smallest, simplest step that's going to help you adjust and make those changes. And so that's where you've got to figure out what is that small step that you can take that's going to allow you to progress and get to that level that you want to get to. And so it's gratitude is the same way. Man, I look at for myself, like going through the journey, going through my story, going through the shit that I've gone through. Gratitude was not easy. It was not easy. I was angry, I was mad, and I was upset, I was sad. I was experiencing everything. And so like gratitude was the last thing on my mind. It was like, nope, this is non-existent. But through the work that I've done, and it's been a long journey with the work, but I'm grateful that it's taken place. It hasn't been something overnight that it's flipped. It's been a continual, constant stepping process, finding that small step that I can take next to build upon. And then as you're doing that, then you're going to find other tools or techniques or individuals, mentors, it could go from one coach got you to one level, and then you need another coach that's going to take you to the next level, because that first coach may be limited, or maybe you're getting to a point where that's not something that they deal with or they don't feel comfortable with. So you might need to find another coach to help you go from that level to the next level. And it's okay. You know what? That's okay, because each of us are at a different point in life. And so that it's the experience thing. It's the way that you look at life, the way your lenses are, how the questions that you ask and whatnot. And it was so I was talking to my mom, and we were talking about some different things. And I'm sitting there, and we were just talking. And after the whole talk, she sent me a text and said, "Hey, thank you for just listening and being non-judgmental and giving me space." But it was so unique just to kind of walk with her, asking her questions and whatnot. And you could see the wheels turning in her head. And then she got to a point and she's like, "This is what I need to do." And I'm like, holy shit. What I'm working on and what I'm doing, it actually works. Because the thing is, like, coaching and working with individuals is an intangible thing sometimes, because you don't see quick changes. And as a coach, you can't get upset, you can't get mad, you can't hold that against yourself, because that person is the expert in their life. That person has to be their hero for their own life. That person knows a lot already, but maybe they're so overwhelmed that they don't know what to hold on to. They don't know what to pull out. They're with themselves 100% of the time. So maybe they're looking at everything and they're not exactly sure. And so watching my mom get to the conclusion of this is the exercise, this is the homework I need to do, and then talking to her and what she had told me, I was like, oh man, that's amazing. But it's one of those things that it's an intangible thing sometimes. And so I had shared that in the Buy Me a Coffee. There's a website out there I've shared. I'll go in there and actually, you know what, I'll figure something out, but maybe I'll put it in the comments here. I've got to figure out how to do that. So I'll put it in the comment section on Facebook if you're on Facebook and whatnot. But it's actually here. Why I'm thinking about it. We're just all over the place tonight. It's all good. But if you're interested, done a couple posts, and it's another avenue as a creator, as a content creator, that this is another avenue that you can share and create a community and really hone in on your writing skills, I guess. But the site, if you would like to go check it out, you can go check out the post and whatnot. It's up to you. I don't care. It is buymeacoffee.com/ScottBrant26. So you can go check it out, give me feedback on whatever you want to do. So it's a good time. But yeah, it's man, things. Whoop, here we go. All over the place. It's all good. So, but yeah. So the power of gratitude and just working on yourself, and everybody's at a different level. Everybody's in a different part of life, different spot for their life and whatnot. We got to respect that, because that's where they're at. That's who they are and whatnot. And so I was doing a little reading. One of the many books that I am going through, and this one I've shared before, but it's Limitless by Jim Quick. And he was talking in here, the 4 levels of competence. And so I've heard this before. This has been talked on many, many times. I haven't ever shared on it. I don't think I have, but it's interesting because with every different thing in our life, we're at different levels when it comes to the competence of the situation, of the skills, of whatever it is, of situations in life and whatnot. But this is something that actually is very, very powerful when you think about it. And so the 4 levels of competence, and this is key. This is something that you've got to look at it, and you want to get to that 4th level. But when you're starting, you're going through all these levels and whatnot. So that 1st level is unconscious incompetence, is when you don't know what you don't know. And so it's one of those things that it's like, you don't know what you don't know. You're like, what the hell are you talking about? Well, if you don't know about it, you don't know how to do it. And so if you're not one of the individuals, because I always talk about the mindset piece, if you're not aware of your thoughts and you're not aware of controlling those stories that you're telling yourself, what you're speaking to yourself, and you're not aware of it, you're not going to do anything about it because you're not aware of it. You don't notice it. You don't know it's taking place. You don't know the power of working on that and shifting and changing and whatnot. So that's that 1st level. The 2nd level is conscious incompetence. You're aware of what you don't know. So maybe you're starting to get to a point, going to the mindset piece, we'll use that for the example here, but maybe you're like, man, because you're listening to somebody or you're hearing somebody, and again, like I said, is you're aware of what you don't know. And so maybe you're watching, well, you can watch podcasts because you have people that live stream it, just like here, or maybe you're listening to the podcast and you're coming across stuff that they're talking about. You're like, man, I've never even thought about it. And so you're becoming aware of what you don't know. And so that's that 2nd level. The 3rd level is conscious competence. What this means is that you're aware of a skill and have the capacity to perform that skill, but only when you actively put your mind to it. So this is something that you know there's a skill, something's going on, but to get good at it, you have to focus on it actively to start building that muscle. And so when you look at this, it's building that muscle memory. And then actually, so the funny thing is the last level, the 4th level, I annotated that it's like muscle memory. It's unconscious competence. In this case, you know how to perform a skill and it's second nature to you. And so it's the power of understanding the different aspects of learning, the different aspects of being aware, and these different levels, because it is necessary. So if you want to get, and that was one thing, and I lost my page. Awesome. Let me see. Here we go. Was this it? No. Oh, here we go. And the last thing that Jim writes in here within Limitless, he talks about practice makes progress. So think about that. What is the other phrase that we've always been told when it comes to practice? Jim here talks about practice makes progress, but we're always told, and this is for it, it's one of those things that it's stuffing and getting people to believe, and it's the paradigm is practice makes perfect. Well, hold on here. If you're practicing and let's say you're practicing for a certain sport and you're practicing shooting a basketball, but your form is fucked up. Your form's jacked up. And so you keep practicing that way. And they're like, oh, practice makes perfect. But if you don't fix your form and that's how you've practiced, you practice over and over and over and over again. You ingrain that into your mind, the muscle memory, brain muscle connection. And then you're like, oh, yeah, well, they said practice makes perfect. But if your form's all jacked up, you're going to have a fucked up form the rest of your life because that's been ingrained and because of the belief of practice makes perfect. It's a way to look at it. Practice makes progress. And progress is necessary because as you're going through and you're making progress, you're going to make mistakes. Because when we hear the term perfect, it means that you shouldn't be making mistakes. It's perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. But when you look at it the opposite way of practice makes progress, while you're making that progress, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to screw up, which is okay. Failure, making mistakes is not a bad thing. That's where the growth really occurs. And so we've got to adjust how we look at that and how we see and how we view the word of failure, of mistakes, because ultimately that's where your growth and progression is going to come. And think about with kids, the school system. We're so focused on grades, and if you get an F, you're all jacked up, and this and that, and it's like that doesn't work. You got to let the kids make the mistakes and understand that it's okay to make a mistake, because that's where the growth and progression comes in. Because if you don't grow and progress and you don't experience the mistakes taking place, and then you get to a point where you're like, oh shit, like this used to be easy and now I'm making mistakes, and you've been ingrained that, oh, everything's easy and mistakes don't occur. And then when you face your first mistake, you're like, what do I do? Well, you don't know because you haven't experienced it. And it's one of those unique things, because with the Buddha and the Badass, Machine talks in there that they have done studies, and they're finding out individuals that have had a life that they've had to overcome challenges and really figure out ways to pivot and grow and whatnot. As employees, those are higher performing employees than somebody that has a perfect resume, somebody that has everything here, but has never overcome a challenge, never overcome an obstacle. Because think about that. If you've never had to face that, and you've never had to go and figure out how to overcome and figure out a way to get to that next level and move around and maneuver and whatnot, and then you end up facing that obstacle, yeah, best of luck, good luck, because you haven't experienced it. And then as we get older and whatnot, like we get ingrained and set in our ways and all this crazy ass shit, and you're like, oh my God. So mistakes are necessary. Failure is part of that part of the progress part and whatnot. And so we can't be so hard pressed that if a kid makes a mistake, you can't harp on it. Yeah, you talk, and depending on what the mistake is, but talk and whatnot, have the conversation, but don't berate, don't make them feel bad for the mistake that was made, because that's how growth takes place. But it's unique because when you think about it, a lot of times when we were growing up, our parents did stuff and we're like, I will never do that, blah, 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 whatever. But then you end up becoming a parent, and the things that you saw growing up kind of bleeds, and you do the same shit, and you're like, oh my God. And then, so think about, like, if you had the issue where mistakes were not acceptable, like, man, you've got parents that are like, you need to make straight A's, you need the straight A's. And it's like, this is the only way you're going to get into colleges, by grades. And if you honestly understood the process when it comes to college and that stuff that I talk about, and the process of getting in, grades are just a little bitty piece of it. When colleges are they're looking at the whole person concept. So grades are part of it. It's also looking at the course load, the challenge of the courses that you're taking, but also what is this person doing to lead a group? And so it's kind of going off here and whatnot, but it's the fact that parents are like, you need to have good grades so you can get into the school. Sorry, if you understood that that's not how this works, that it's so much more complex, then maybe we would have parents pushing to have their kids go get involved in the community, to give back to the community, or while they're in school, take on a couple leadership positions. And I know that's tough because you do have individuals that are introverted individuals, even though I've heard it spoken before that people that use that as a crutch of saying, oh, I'm an introvert, you're being selfish, because you've got talents and skills that you possess. And because you are like, I'm an introvert, you hold on to that, and it's a blockade for you. It's a wall that is holding you back. You've got skills and talents that others need to see and others need within their life. But because you're holding on to this crutch of, I'm an introvert, it's not serving anybody. you're kind of being a selfish jerk by using that as a crutch and not showcasing your skills and your talents, whatever it is, and really being who you are meant to be. So just here we go. We're clapping here. Just know every day there's always a great day. There's always something out there that can make the day great. And so one of the things that really kind of helps you out with that is the power of gratitude. Working on your gratitude muscle, which the way we are wired, which you can change that wiring, it's work and whatnot, like everything else. But you've got to just start with that gratitude muscle. Start with the small, simplest step that you can take to get you to wherever you need to go, whatever that is. Smallest, simplest step. It's not, let me look and I need to see the whole staircase before I start taking those steps. No, you don't need to see the whole staircase. All you need to do is see that step in front of you. You see that step, go, take that step. So if no, with the value that's in this, hit the share button, share the YouTube, go check out our YouTube channel for Two Native Sons. If you haven't, go and check it out, hit subscribe, like, share the channel. If you're on Facebook, hit the share button to share the video to get this message out, to spread the value. Because ultimately, social media has made it so easy to really spread value, spread things that are going to make a huge impact in the lives of others. And so on Facebook, they've got that little button that says share. Oh, okay, here we go. Share it and get it out and whatnot. So, but thank you guys for your time. Thank you guys for your support. If you have anything on your heart, you have anything that you want to chase after and you don't know how to do it, reach out to myself or Patrick. We'll sit down and we'll talk and figure out what needs to take place, help you figure out your steps of actions and let you do that because you're the expert of your life and whatnot. And then, like I've already talked about, there are these shirts here that you can purchase from us. Reach out, and it's just a aspect to unite individuals because ultimately it's hashtags, shutdowns, ruin towns, and it's true because we're losing the spaces that people will go to have that community, to have the friendships, to build the relationships. And when we shut down and people don't have those spots, it's tough because you get to a point where you just don't feel like you have an outlet. You don't know what to do. You don't know who to turn to. And so it's a tough thing and whatnot. But if you would like to purchase a shirt, reach out, send us a private message. We'll let you know, get you connected, get you the shirt. You can start wearing it. Let's go. Let's make some noise. Here we go. So other than that, I'll catch you guys later. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Tomorrow is Christmas Day. So anybody that has kids, best of luck because young kids, you're probably going to be up at 4 in the morning or 6 in the morning with the excitement of the gifts and whatnot. So, but enjoy the day, make memories, take lots of pictures because ultimately it's about creating memories. The gifts that people are buying, those will only last so long, but it's those memories that are hard to lose and come by. So other than that, I'll catch you guys later. Love you. Have a good night.